My name is Dave and I'm a divorce lawyer in Illinois. Today, I want to speak with you about the differences between an uncontested divorce in Illinois and a contested divorce in Illinois. But first, I'm going to define those two terms. An uncontested divorce in Illinois is one where both parties agree on all issues in the divorce. And a contested divorce in Illinois is one where both parties do not agree on all the issues in the divorce. Okay, so what are the differences between an uncontested divorce in Illinois and a contested divorce in Illinois? Now, the three main differences are as follows. Number one, speed. Number two, cost. And number three, stress level. I could go on all day about all the minute differences in these two types of divorces, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to focus on those three differences. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about the speed of these two types of divorces. Now, this is an overview, of course, and I could get into a lot more detail, but I want to give you an overview of why an uncontested divorce is a lot quicker than a contested divorce in Illinois. Now, one of the main differences is the documents involved in each type of case. In an uncontested divorce in Illinois, there are very few documents involved, and those documents can be drafted by your lawyer and signed by both parties in the divorce in a relatively compressed amount of time. Now, contrast that to a contested divorce in Illinois. There can be many documents that each party files, and each time a party files a document, the other side gets a certain amount of time to reply. That amount of time could be 7 days, it could be 14 days, it could even be 28 days. So there's a certain time frame involved in each document filed in a contested case. That's for each issue in a contested case. So if there are, say, 3 issues in a contested case, that timeline might repeat itself 3 times. So for example, issue number 1, one party might file a certain document and the other party might get 14 days or 28 days to respond. There might be issue number 2, and the same cycle will repeat itself. So you can see how the more issues there are in a contested case, the more time it takes not only to draft those documents and to file them, but the more time there is involved in the other side getting to respond to those documents that are filed. Now, there's also the issue of evidence gathering. It's a process known as discovery, or the discovery process. Now, in an uncontested divorce in Illinois, there is no evidence gathering, and that's because everything is agreed. That's what makes it so quick. Contrast that to a contested divorce in Illinois. Evidence gathering can be a major undertaking. There are questions that each party has to answer in writing. There are mounds of documents that often have to be provided. There are depositions to be conducted. That's when a lawyer essentially gets to interrogate the other party or other witnesses outside of court with a court reporter present. Discovery can take a very, very long time. In a contested divorce in Illinois, it's not rare for the discovery process to take several months or maybe even a year and longer. So imagine if you could wipe out that whole discovery process. Well, that's what you can do with an uncontested divorce in Illinois. There is no discovery process because each party is agreeing on all the issues. Now, each party can choose to exchange certain financial records and that sort of thing, but there's not a formal discovery process. It doesn't take months, and it doesn't take many, many hours, even dozens or hundreds of hours of your lawyer's time to complete the discovery process. Now, another factor that influences the speed of a divorce is court dates. Now, court is very busy. Each judge has their own schedule, their own calendar. Now, in a uncontested divorce in Illinois, it's pretty easy to get a court date, and that's regardless of the county you're in. Now, some counties, a lawyer could get a court date to finalize a divorce maybe within 1 week of requesting it. Other counties, it might take about a month after a request to actually get a court date. But still, that's not a very long time. Let's contrast that to a contested divorce in Illinois. Now, as I mentioned before, there can be many issues involved in a contested divorce in Illinois, and each one of those issues could involve a separate hearing. It can take months to get a court date to have a formal hearing in a contested divorce. When I say months, I mean it could be 2 months or it could be 3 months. If you're dealing with something like the allocation of parental responsibilities, formerly known as custody in Illinois, or child custody, that can take 3-4 months to actually have a hearing on that issue. And that's just one of the issues in a contested divorce. But let's say we're talking about a trial in a contested case. It's not uncommon for a trial to occur maybe 5 months, maybe even longer after a trial date is requested by one or more of the lawyers. That means, in other words, all the issues have been investigated, the discovery process has been completed, and a lawyer requests a trial date to finalize a contested case. Okay, now let's talk about the cost of an uncontested divorce in Illinois versus a contested divorce in Illinois. Many lawyers will offer a flat fee for representation in an uncontested divorce in Illinois, whereas lawyers bill by the hour for a contested divorce in Illinois. Now let's talk about what that means and why that is. So a flat fee often will cover all of the lawyer's work and all of the court costs required in an uncontested divorce in Illinois, versus hourly billing. Hourly billing means that for each hour worked, a lawyer will charge more to the client. And in fact, lawyers don't actually charge by the hour. It's a bit of a misnomer. Okay, so lawyers will bill a certain rate per hour, but they actually usually charge by the 1/10 of an hour or every 6 minutes. So that means if a lawyer writes a letter and it takes, let's say, only 12 minutes, a lawyer might bill 0.2 of 1 hour or 2/10 of 1 hour. So each item of work completed by a lawyer who is billing by the hour will cost a client more. Now, that doesn't sound very good to people usually, right? Who wants to pay a lawyer at all? I mean, no one wants to pay a lawyer anything, right? But of course, most people don't want to pay a lawyer an amount that is very hard to predict. And when you're dealing with an uncontested divorce versus a contested divorce, it is almost certain that an uncontested divorce will cost many, many times less than a contested divorce. You know, an uncontested divorce involves a predictable amount of work. A lawyer knows that he or she has to draft certain documents and usually go to court once. Contrast that to a contested divorce in Illinois. In a contested divorce, as I spoke about before, the timeline is unpredictable. There's an unpredictable amount of documents that need to be filed. There's an unpredictable amount of discovery. There's an unpredictable number of court dates, and those court dates take an unpredictable amount of time. So most lawyers will not offer one flat fee for an unpredictable amount of work. You understand that, of course. I mean, imagine if someone asked you to do a certain job. If you didn't know how long that job would take, would you guarantee a certain price? Probably not. Lawyers don't want to do that either. Okay, so now you understand why the cost of a divorce is a major factor that defines the difference between an uncontested divorce in Illinois and a contested divorce in Illinois. Okay, so now I'm going to discuss the difference in stress as it applies to an uncontested divorce in Illinois versus a contested or litigated divorce in Illinois. Now, you might inherently understand that an agreement involves less stress than disagreement. And that's why an uncontested divorce in Illinois involves less stress than a contested divorce in Illinois. But let's dig a bit deeper. One reason an uncontested divorce in Illinois is less stressful than a contested divorce in Illinois is because the results of an uncontested divorce are predictable for the most part. Let's sum up the process. An uncontested divorce in Illinois involves you reaching an agreement with your spouse or partner, generally with some guidance from your lawyer. Once that agreement is reached, the lawyer drafts certain documents, the most important of those being a settlement agreement or agreements, and then those agreements are entered in court and essentially become court orders. So since in an uncontested case, people define and choose what they want those court orders to be, that causes them less stress, okay, because the result is predictable. Contrast that to a contested or a litigated divorce in Illinois. In those cases, the judge will decide what the results of any single issue or hearing will be, and the judge will decide what happens in your case after a trial. Now, even if you think that you have the best divorce lawyer in Illinois, there's still going to be a lot of stress involved in your case because you cannot determine exactly what a judge will rule on any single issue in your case, or what a judge will rule after a hearing or after a trial. And that causes people stress because when people can't predict the results of any certain action, that causes them anxiety. And given how long a divorce can take, people can have a lot of anxiety in their divorce because a contested divorce can take a very long time. There can be many hearings, there can be lengthy trials, and this can take months or even a year or more. So if you want to reduce stress in your life, it's best to try to have an uncontested divorce in Illinois. Now, if you can't achieve an uncontested divorce in Illinois, that is, you can't achieve agreement on all aspects of your divorce, then what you can do in a contested case is hopefully agree on some of the issues involved. If you can't agree on all issues, agree on some of them, then that's less fighting you have to do in court. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to click the like button and also subscribe. If there's anything you'd like to know about, please let me know and I might be able to do a video about that topic. You can contact me a couple ways. Instagram at Illinois Divorce, and also you can check out the description below for some ways to contact me. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.